What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today we are on the test server here, so thank you Plarium for allowing us access. And today we will be going over the 5 champions that will be upcoming in the next patch along with the fusion. So let's have a quick chat about these new additions to the game. All right, so first, real quick here, I know there's going to be a lot of content on this guy right now, but Lysanthir the Beastbane. So this is the upcoming fusion that's happening on Monday. And yeah, we just take a look at his base stats here. Pretty good base defense, 103 base speed with the boosted crit damage. Good. We all know his kit by now, most likely, but I'll quickly touch on it here. His A1 places Hex with a 100% chance and also places crit damage on himself. His A2 is a double hit, has a chance to repeat the attack, so it could be a quad hit. And when he's part of a counter attack or an ally attack, he will use this A2 instead of his A1. The damage will also get boosted according to how often your allies have been devoured, up to 50%. So it's a very specific condition. We don't know how hard this ability hits yet, but there we go, an A2. His A3 here is a double hit AoE on a 3-turn cooldown, will apply decreased speed and weaken. Now these are really nice. So the champion that comes to mind with this setup is Eostrid, and Eostrid is an absolute killer in Hydra, great debuff champion. And yeah, this ability is similar, right? Decreased speed, weaken, not as good as Eostrid's, since Eostrid does bring a turn meter boost, but it's a double hit, and Lysanthir is a damage dealer, so perhaps this could deal some additional damage. His passive also allowing a little bit extra Hydra specialist attributes. Will ignore life barrier and ally protection. So ally protection can be applied by the head of suffering, and then obviously life barrier is what the head of decay applies. The problem with the life barrier obviously is that if it's on a head that has already devoured an ally, it gets much harder to release that ally. So Lysanthir here can bypass the life barrier. And he also has a passive that boosts his defense for each active buff on him up to 50%. Defense in all battles, and that's going to be your fusion. That's going to be coming this Monday. Moving on to the next champion on the list here, we have Bladechorister Caldor. So Bladechorister Caldor, it is the Sylvan Watcher faction unity champion. So the faction unities are basically all done. All the factions have now gotten their one faction unity champion. So it was interesting to see what Plarium brings next. But yeah, so we got this guy. He's an attack-based damage dealer. So Sylvan Watchers definitely need more attack damage dealers. This guy's got some pretty impressive base attack. Got the boosted crit damage here, of course. Nice to see. A1 AoE has a 25% chance to place stun. That's pretty nice. We'll ignore 20% of each target's resistance for each continuous heal on this champion. So he has continuous heal synergy. But yeah, an AoE 25% stun is pretty solid on an A1. So let's move on to his A2. A2, wall of text here. We got 3-turn cooldown, select a target. If the target is an enemy, decrease the duration of all buffs on all enemies. Okay, all enemies by 1 turn. Places a poison on all enemies for 2 turns, and an additional poison for 2 turns for each continuous heal buff on this champion. These debuffs cannot be resisted. Then instantly activate all poison debuffs on all enemies. So it's a poison explode. So 2 turns and then 2 turns. Yeah, so poison explode with the strip. 1 turn, potentially a strip, and then a poison explode. Okay. If the target is an ally, increase the duration of all buffs on all allies. Instantly activate continuous heals on all allies. Places a perfect veil on this champion for 2 turns. Also places continuous heal on this champion for 2 turns, and another continuous heal buff on each alive ally for 2 turns. Then finally fills this champion's turn meter by 15% for each buff or debuff placed by this skill. Interesting. So in terms of debuffs, he potentially could land, 8. No, in its base ability, he can land 4 poisons, 4 or 5 poisons. 4 or 5 poisons. So he's going to be gaining turn meter off of 4 or 5 poisons. I mean, you could, maybe do that if you do that on the spider, for example, you're going to gain like full turn meter instantly if you place this ability. And that's without any kind of buffs or conditions met. and then he's going to instantly activate. I mean, that's going to be kind of cool. Otherwise, he can also switch to like a support form where he places continuous heals on your whole team. And I guess he can set himself up for more continuous heal strategies. And yeah, I mean, it's a 3-turn cooldown. It's strange, but there's a lot going on here and you can probably find a use for it. But let's move on quickly here. So at A3, single target hit before attacking, 100% chance of removing all buffs. Okay, great. Decrease defense and weaken. So remove all buffs, place decreased defense and weaken. It's a hit, so you can weak hit. Will ignore 20% of the target's resistance for each continuous heal on this champion. So if you have 5 continuous heals, you can full ignore the resistance. That's kind of cool. 1 faction unity ally. Remove all buffs from all enemies if the initial target is killed. This buff removal cannot be resisted. So with your 1 attack, you have to kill the target. 2 faction allies will ignore 5% of the target's defense for each poison on them. And each continuous buff on this champion. So if you had like 2 poisons on them, if you had 2 continuous heals on yourself, that's 20% ignore defense. And I guess these continuous heals and poisons can come from any source, which would be pretty cool. Yeah, this potentially could be kind of cool, but yeah, it's kind of tough. It's tough to get going here. I mean, how much Sylvan Watchers have poisons? Not too much, I think, right? If the initial target is under a poison debuff, also attacks all other enemies. The damage dealt is proportional to the initial target's max HP and how many poison debuffs are on them. If the initial target is a boss or minion, the damage dealt is equal to 10% of their max HP. So it's a max HP hit with 3 allies. There's a lot going on here. 35% boost in damage, 3-turn cooldown. There's a lot going on. It's really hard to say. I mean, maybe this is a boss ability. Single target, decrease defense, and weaken. This could be a boss ability. Let's check out his passive here. Will ignore 15% of the target's defense when attacking under a veil or perfect veil. So his A2 does place a veil on himself, so he can actually self-buff himself. That's pretty good. This champion receives 30% less damage from enemies when not under veil or perfect veil. So if he's not under veil or perfect veil, he has just built-in mitigation. It's pretty strong. Each continuous heal buff on this champion increases the crit rate by 20%. This is hard to set up, right? Because you want to go in there with the option to basically one-shot somebody with 100% crit rate. Like, you can't rely on the A2. First of all, putting the continuous heal on yourself, or having your teammate, put a continuous heal on you first. Like, maybe somebody like Senna can do it because she has turn meter plus continuous heals. Then that kind of sets him up, but like, this is tough. This is tough to take advantage of. Each time a continuous heal buff activates on this champion, also fills their turn meter by 8%. It's only on himself, I think, on this activates on this champion, also fills their turn meter by 8%. There, I assume it's just himself. Each time a continuous heal buff activates on this champion or an ally, okay, yeah, or an ally, increases this champion's damage by 5%. It's interesting. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening like easily, but maybe it could be crazy. Interesting. I'm not entirely sold on that, just because it's not that easy to put those 2 buffs together, poison and continuous heals, especially for this faction. Who gives poisons? King Galkabar, I think, gives poisons. Yeah, he does give poisons. Does he have continuous heals? I guess he does have continuous heals. I wonder how Plarium came to this realization to use this synergy, but okay. So then, sticking with the Sylvan Watchers, our next champion here is Aratheia Corpseflower. A void legendary here. Looks awesome. I love this look. Angry fairy look. Let's check out her kit, guys. Very interesting stat spread here. Low HP, relatively high defense for a attack-based champion. 63% crit rate, which is good. Low base attack. So A1, single target hit, fills turn meter by 10%, fills this champion's turn meter by additional 10% if the enemy is under hex. Will counterattack using this skill when hit by enemies under a hex debuff. That's pretty good. Hex can be kind of applied by anybody, so that can be good. Really low book value here. You hate to see 4 books for 5% each. You hate that? Like, just give us like 2 books for 10%. Like, geez, man. Or like 5, 5, 10, 10 or something. Like, it just doesn't make sense. A2 here, 3-turn cooldown when fully booked. It's an AoE double hit. Damage increases by 10% for each enemy under a hex debuff. So if you have 4 enemies, that's going to be 40% increase. We'll ignore shield, strengthen. Also ignore block damage if they're under hex. So hex is the key. A hex setup champion for her to do lots of damage. In the base form, in the base move, it can ignore shield and strengthen. Not bad. But no ignore defense, which means she's not going to hit super, super hard here. Fills this champion's turn meter by 30%. That's a big boost. Fills this champion's turn meter by additional 20% for each enemy killed by this skill. That's a big, big boost. It's a double hit as well. Are you going to sweep your opponent? Probably not. But this could be good, especially with the hex setup. It's not easy to get the hex out. There's not too many champions right now that, blanket apply hex as a setup champion. So, because you need plus attack, right? You need to get her in with plus attack and then the hex setup, and then she can start smacking, right? Or ignored block, then she can basically start smacking because then she gets the damage boost here. But it's not going to be easy to set her up. A3 places increase accuracy 2 turns on your whole team. Has 100% chance of placing Deathbrand. Nice. Deathbrand is very, very good. It's very threatening on a target for 2 turns. Also has 100% chance of placing Hex on all enemies. So she places Deathbrand on a target and then Hex and increase attack. So it's pretty good. She can basically buff herself and set up herself. Then fills this champion's turn meter by 50%. It's a 3-turn cooldown ability. Fills this champion's turn meter by additional 10% for each debuff placed. Also places block damage on her. So she sets herself up. Okay. Cool. So she places Hex, so it's not a hit. It's not a hit. So she places Hex, places Deathbrand. So potentially in Arena, that's 5 debuffs from this ability. So if she gets 5 debuffs, that's going to be an additional 50%. So she auto fills 50%. So she could potentially fill 100% of her turn meter. So yeah, potentially she could get a turn right away, but it's unlikely. And then she places block damage on herself. She's setting herself up to do mega damage, right? So she sets herself up, and then she comes in here with the double hit, and then the plus damage with the hex, and the turn meter stuff. Yeah, could work. Requires accuracy to place the hex, which is a little bit of a shame, but you do put increased accuracy on yourself. Passive. If this champion kills 1 or more enemies in battle, we'll ignore 10% of any target's defense. Okay. It's a little bit of a boost. If this champion kills 2 or more, this champion will receive a shield equal to 40% of their max HP for 2 turns at the start of their own turn. Generally, this is pretty strong. I think Rhonda has a self-shielding mechanic as well. This looks really strong, 40% of their max HP. And then you look at her base HP and it's 14.7k, which is super, super low. So the shield's not going to be massive, right? Shield's never going to be massive on her, but it's a little bit extra every turn. If this champion kills 3 or more enemies in battle, each attack will decrease target's turn meter by 10%. Cannot be resisted. Decrease target by 10% each attack. This is not this is not an attack. This is a double hit, and this is 1 hit. I would say it's interesting enough that I'm interested, but it feels like it's missing just something. I would have to say she has to hit really hard. She has to hit really hard. Even with this setup, she has to hit super hard. And she needs a setup for removing the buffs too. Because what if they have Stone Skin or block debuffs or anything like that? Then you can't place Hex or the Deathbrand, right? Then this ability becomes very vanilla. It's kind of like meh. So a lot of turn meter fill stuff, which makes her interesting. But yeah, we'll have to see how she does in terms of multipliers as a damage dealer. All right, up next, we are off to the, the Lizardmen here. We're off to the Lizardmen. Sorry, I clicked skins, Lizardmen. And we have support champion, Kieran the Harvester. Kieran the Harvester here. Nice base HP, nice base speed. Support champion, we got an A1 here, AoE. 75% chance of placing decreased speed for 2 turns. Steals 5% of each target's turn meter. Steals 10% for each of each enemy's turn meter instead if they're under decreased speed. That's really strong. An AoE, decreased speed, 75% chance is very, very good. And then the turn meter steal is just, yeah, extra icing on that ability. So nice ability there. A2, 4 turn cooldown down to 3 turns. Single hit puts all of the target skills on cooldown. So full single target lockout on a 3 turn cooldown. 100% chance of decreasing turn meter of all enemies under sleep debuff by 15%. So you hit, and then you decrease the turn meter of everybody by 15%. Has a 100% chance of decreasing the turn meter of all enemies without sleep by 30%. Interesting. Yeah, 30% decrease. 30% decrease, single target lockout on a 3 turn. Could be okay. It's not bad. I mean, single target lockout is kind of, kind of meh, but the turn meter pushback can be very, very good. Either way, you need accuracy for this ability and a lot of it for it to be consistent. Is A3 here. 4 turn cooldown when fully blocked. AoE. 100% chance of placing sleep for 1 turn. Ignores block debuffs. Extra turn. So you have to hit so you can weak hit. So that's going to be a problem as well. But it's 100% sleep on a 4 turn cooldown. So I guess you sleep and then you come into this. Sleep and then lockout. But you wake somebody up. Sleep. A1. Wake everybody up. So, yeah, it doesn't really make too much sense. Sleep, extra turn, lock somebody up, wake somebody up. Passive. Whenever an enemy attempts to increase their turn meter, it's reduced by 25%. Active effect, 1 turn cooldown. Whenever a sleep debuff is removed or expires, instantly activate A2. Instantly activate A2 on that target. Okay, so if they wake up, then you do this and lock them out and push back turn meter. If there are, does not work if a sleep debuff is removed by damage. If there are multiple champions on his team with a skill, only one to activate. Okay, so it's a little bit interesting. He has an 80 accuracy aura as well. That's very nice. But it's interesting. It's strange. Like you sleep them, and then you shut down somebody, or you just use this and then you sleep them. That might work better. So you use this. You push back the turn meter, and then you hopefully get a turn back, and then you can sleep them all again, I guess. You do ignore block debuffs, so you're not worried about that. The stripping before using this ability. And then you have this passive here, which could be a really strong control, because you basically full lock down the champion that wakes up, and then you push back turn meter on the team. The crazy thing is, Arman's has a passive that's, pretty nuts as well. It just passively locks them out when they kick out a sheep. So it feels like it's kind of like that, but it's not as strong. Yeah, I mean, and also it's a hit, so it can weak hit. So you might not be able to put the skill on cooldown. I would say generally this is kind of a weakish champion, to be honest. I can't see this being very strong, but day 1 is strong. But I can't see this working super well. Sleep is one of the weaker CC effects as well, because you can kind of kick out of it kind of easily. But yeah, we'll see. It needs playtesting, and it needs to see like real life situations for a verdict. The last champion on this list to be introduced is actually an epic. This epic will probably be part of the fusion. It's a mixed fusion, so you're going to collect fragments for the rhino and then fuse the rhinos into Lysanthir Beastbane. So Yuzan the Marooned. I like this rhino. It's cool. Base stats kind of whatever for an epic, kind of average. It's an HP based champion. A1, single target hit. Transfer random debuff from this champion to the target with the heal. Meh, pretty weak. Like Lysandra, for example, sends them all. Sends all debuffs, right? And then he only sends one random one. But Lysandra's legendary, of course, but still, that's kind of like what we're comparing against. A2, 3 turn cooldown, AoE, chance to remove 2 random buffs. Not bad. And then a heal, 10% of their max HP for each buff removed. So if you remove like 10 debuffs, you're going to heal yourself for 100%. 10 debuffs. I mean, it's possible you can remove 10 and then you full heal yourself. Too bad it's not like a team heal or something. That would have been nicer, but yeah, it's okay. Okay, A2. Okay, A2. Is A3, 4-turn cooldown when fully booked. Removes 1 random debuff from all allies, so very, very soft cleanse. Heals all allies by 20% of this max HP, then places block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns. So on a 4-turn cooldown. So right now we're seeing a lot of like on Legos and stuff, we're seeing 3-turn cooldowns with full team cleanse and then block debuffs. That's kind of like the standard nowadays. 3-turn full team cleanse with the block debuff. So this guy has a one random debuff cleanse with the block debuffs on a 4-turn, and then you are, then you have a heal. So you're paying an extra turn cooldown for the heal, but then you're already sacrificing the full team cleanse. I mean, it's an epic level ability, maybe, but it's not particularly great. Might be okay as a healer for skinwalkers in Faction Wars, to be honest. But, Faction Wars has the Hippo. The Hippo is able to revive, but, a soft cleanser can be okay. Passive, whenever this champion heals themselves using a skill, also heals all allies. Oh, nice. Of 20% of any surplus. Great. Okay, that means this ability can be quite big. Because we're saying like how this ability, it would be nicer if it was a team heal. And this healing ability could be potentially quite big because you can, potentially remove quite a bit of buffs. So the surplus heal from this ability could be huge. And I would say consistently probably big. So this passive really gives him quite a bit of extra value. His HP is not particularly high, so the max HP heal won't be massive. But this makes him much more viable. And also, he has this heal as well. So he might overheal from this, and then he can heal his team as well. And then this as well. If he's attacking at full HP, he can overheal and then basically heal his whole team. So yeah, this makes his kit much, much better. Res in all battles, not particularly interesting. Would have liked to see like HP or something. But anyways, he is the epic that's going to go into the fusions. If you guys are kind of down on the fusion, maybe this guy would be worth something for you guys just for Faction Wars. To be honest, I think he is a very viable Faction Wars support champion, especially if you don't have the Hippo, or even if you have the Hippo. So this guy gives a little bit of hope, actually, a little bit of hope, and it's going to be a fragment epic, so maybe worthwhile. Void as well, so he's going to be worth a little bit of champion chase points as well. So anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this little preview for the upcoming champions. Let me know in the comments below which one you guys are most excited about, if any, and what you guys actually think about each of them. Do you guys agree with my assessment? Let me know if I missed anything, of course. Appreciate your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.